Hi, I'm Randy Wooden, and welcome to another in our Edge Library series. This time we'll talk about baby boomers and the issues that boomers feel and encounter when dealing with the age issue and the online application. One of the main questions I get, I do a lot of workshops, and one of the questions I get so often is, how do I deal with this perception that I'm too old, too overqualified, and beyond that, the specific frustration of the online application. And gee whiz, I can't seem to get past that. I would love to be able to get a chance to go in and interview for a position, but I can't get past the online application. Now, there's no magic pill here. There are some tips and tricks you can use to help get through that first hurdle. So let's talk about a few of those. Specifically, right now, we'll cover the issue of the online application. You run into two primary concerns here. One is in talking about how much experience you have and how far back do you go. What about the title that you held in your most recent position and that sort of thing. The other one deals with the dollars and what was your past salary, what are your salary expectations, that sort of thing. So we'll cover those 2 points in this segment. First of all, dealing with how far back to go on your online application. Understand that if there are fields that must be filled in, then of course you have no choice. You have to fill it in, otherwise they won't accept it. But I always try to encourage people to consider going back roughly 15 years. Now, you can make an argument a few years either side of that, but I wouldn't go much past 15. And secondly, when you're thinking about what sort of title to have on there, keep in mind your audience. Your audience is looking for a certain position to fill. That title that they're looking to fill, the more closely your most recent title, or perhaps the job before that, the most recent job or the job prior to that, the title is what you're really kind of trying to match up here a little bit. So you want to match keywords but also titles. I would consider going back and altering the title to make it more descriptive, because again, titles differ from company to company. So again, look to go back about 15 years, and then also make sure that as closely as is reasonable, that the titles match pretty closely with the job that you're applying for. Of course, you want to make sure that the keywords, as much as possible, also reflect the keywords in the job description. So make your old job duties as close to the current job description as you can. The other issue then deals with the dollars, and we get two primary concerns here. One is, what is your past salary history? The other one deals with, what are you looking for in terms of compensation? The latter is easier. Let's take that one first. If you know a job is likely to pay within a certain range based on your ability to research it online, based on your knowledge of the industry and that sort of thing, if you have a pretty rough idea what that job is going to pay, then your salary expectations, regardless of what it was you made in the past, need to fit within the boundaries of what's reasonable. So that's not all that difficult. I'd pick toward the higher end of what you feel the job is most likely to pay and go with that. Again, you want to leave it blank if you can. You'd like to be able to put 0. You'd like to be able to put negotiable. But anymore, that's very, very unlikely to be allowed. They always make you put something in there. Even a range would be good to put in, but very often it's got to be a very specific number. So here again, do what you can to avoid it. If you can't avoid it, then you've got to pick a number. Pick the number within the, say, the upper third of what you think the range is likely to be. Now here's the real challenge, and that's when they ask for a salary history. There are a few things to consider when you're doing this. Your end goal is to get a job, but your immediate goal is to get through this hurdle. And just to make up numbers, if you were making, let's say, $80,000 in your most recent position, and the job you're applying for, and you'd be fine with taking the pay, you're fine with it, you're fine with the duties, but that job pays roughly $50,000. If you put $80,000 as your last salary, you've got a better chance of hitting a golf ball on the sun. I mean, you're just not going to get looked at. It's not going to happen. Once, great many times it might, but you know what? You're going to get screened out. And I tell people this in workshops. You need to be candid. You need to be honest. Here's the one time in a job hunt. If you're going to lie about something, you got to lie about this. I mean, let's face it. If you put 80 and you don't get looked at, you don't have a shot. Put something closer to 60-ish or so. Do what you've got to get noticed. A couple of points. One is it's very rare for companies to check on your old salary. Some do. Some may even, in fact, demand proof of last year's income prior to actually accepting you on the job. Some may do that. Historically, that just doesn't happen. They may call to verify employment, but companies don't release what somebody made. They don't release that information. So, again, based on your own your own morals and what you feel you can rationalize, do it. Understand what you made in your past job, as you well know, is irrelevant as it relates to the parameters of this new position. Great example, I tell people, Bill Gates, a multi-billionaire. Yeah, Bill Gates could take a job sweeping floors at the local YMCA, but just because he makes a gazillion dollars a year doesn't mean that in that job he's going to make that amount of money. He's got to understand that that's what the job is likely to pay, and as long as he's okay with that, he doesn't want to be artificially screened out simply because he had the ability to earn more somewhere else. So that's where you need to pick a number that is at maybe a little bit above 10 to 20%, no more, above what that job is likely to pay, and put that in that box. Again, it's a tough one. That would be my advice in terms of dealing with the online application. We have other segments that we'll do for baby boomers that'll touch on a variety of other topics, so I invite you to watch those as well. That's going to wrap up this edition of the Edge Library Series. I'm Randy Wooden. Thanks for watching.